The dollar's dying again, according to the media. And while there's some shreds of truth to this, a lot of this is hyperbole. So we're going to talk about this from an operational perspective to give you a better understanding of how this might actually unfold over the course of time. People love this death of the dollar story for some reason. It's been going on as long as my career has been going on. More recently, the narrative has been about how some of the oil producing countries are going to stop accepting dollars. But again, this narrative has been going on way before I was even born. All right, let's pump the brakes on scary sounding stories and let's get nerdy. So first things first, why is the US dollar the world's reserve currency? There are lots of reasons why the US dollar is the primary reserve currency. And yes, the size of the military and Bretton Woods and the petrodollar all play a role to some degree. But the main one is a simple fact of account. The US consumer is the wealthiest, largest consumer in the world by a large margin. And when they buy things from foreigners, they export dollars, which means that foreign countries simply end up with an excess reserve of US dollars. In addition, US financial markets are colossal compared to any other foreign economy. And so when foreigners want access to the largest, safest, most liquid financial markets in the world, they have to obtain dollars. Here's some historical perspective on the amount of global reserves held by foreign central banks. And you can see, as it pertains to the US dollar, the numbers come down marginally, but really in the last decade, it hasn't changed very much. It certainly hasn't changed very much in the last few years. Bigger takeaway from this data, though, is that there really is no alternative. So even if the neighborhood of fiat currencies is terrible, the dollar is the best house in a bad neighborhood by a huge margin. You can see no other foreign currency even is above 5%. The only one that is the euro, and the euro is just 20% of foreign global reserves. But what about gold, the world's longest serving reserve asset? Well, the story is the same there relative to the dollar. Gold has been declining as a reserve asset long before the petrodollar agreement or Bretton Woods or anything like that, and now amounts for just 15% of foreign global reserves. All that said, I do think the dollar is going to shrink as a share of global foreign reserves. And the primary reason for that is that US GDP is 25% of global GDP, and US financial markets are 50% of global financial markets. So there's a reasonable argument that holding 58% of dollars as foreign reserves is well in excess of where the other markets say that this number should be. And especially as other foreign markets grow and their financial markets mature, I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect that the dollar as a relative share will shrink over time. So this story is nothing new. The dollar has been on the verge of death in the media for a very long time, and we should expect those stories to continue in the future because they make for great headlines. But the reality is that while the dollar is losing share of global foreign reserves, and I expect it to lose even further, this is unlikely to be a quick process, in large part because there just isn't a great alternative. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you learned something new. I'll catch you next time.